Okay, so this is Bre, JJ3, but I'm pretty sure that everybody else is blended in right behind me because we've come to some realizations about some things that have been going on over the last few days. And I do think that Jesse needs to present this later with full makeup on. Just so that we have our armor on and make sure that the message gets out instead of looking like a crazy person, which is what I kind of look like now and what I've kind of looked like over the last few days. So we've had a UTI, and that has led to a couple of interesting things. We've had a number of panic attacks, just full-fledged despair panic attacks. And then we've had 2 rage cloud panic attacks on other people. That was not a good situation. It should not have happened. And it was distressful to the 2 people that were involved because they don't understand their own processes. They don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. None of us do. There are some scientists now that believe that we do not have free will. It's not as black and white as that. We are run by processes that were developed in childhood and that have been either stoked as we've grown up by people continuing to feed those bad processes or good processes. Could be good processes too, but it usually happens as bad. And those drive our behaviors. And if people keep piling on fuel that support those processes, you're going to keep doing them. And if people take that away and stop kind of stoking that, then you might come to the realization that you shouldn't do those processes, or you may just inflate it in your mind that the person that didn't like you doing that is crazy and that you didn't mean anything bad by it. There was no intent to hurt behind the processes. And that person is just way too sensitive. And then you blame all of your problems on other people. Because all the women in your life have been crazy. And that's one that I hear a lot, that all of my relationships have failed because I choose crazy women. No, your women go crazy because you do these bad processes, dude. And you continue to do them with other people who are not your quote-unquote women. Or within the family, you treat your family like you've always treated other family members. And those other family members were perhaps fine with you treating them that way. And in fact, maybe it made them feel important for you to treat them that way. Maybe it gave someone a martyr complex to have you treat them that way. And so they stayed and they supported that and they allowed you to treat them that way. And that made you continue to treat them that way and to continue to treat others that way as well. And I Jesse, I don't think that I explained that very well, so if you can clean that up, that would be really good. Because I do feel that I'm losing some of the connections in here that, like I'm losing some of you guys, which means that I'm losing our comprehension of things. And I think that's what happens to us, is that we have something like this that happens, like the UTI, or we've just been talking a lot about childhood with a cousin, and because of that, it's like stirred up old processes and old doors that we've had closed for a while, and they've come up to the surface, and it might even be an additional part. It's probably an additional part because something was said to our younger son that the active 4 right now, none of us remember saying to him. And this happened in between the 2 anger clouds where we went off on the 2 different people. In the middle of that, I was discussing things with my younger son, and I was talking about my theories because I was in the middle of the UTI, and the way to the light is through suffering. Our brain is on fire right now from this UTI, but it has opened up paths that maybe have been closed for a while. And it is suffering, but the way to the light is through suffering. So it's kind of sped up understanding of what's going on with us, and also what's going on with other people around us, and why they do the things that they do, and why they hurt us, and they don't even realize that they're hurting us. But I think it might be another part, or just a sub-part of Jesse, perhaps, because she is the one of us that remembers the most sexual events. She is our love part, our adult love part. You know, I would say that Harper is our juvenile love part. Like, Harper loves everybody. Everybody. She finds everybody beautiful. She wants to be everybody's friend. Or at least that's the way she used to be. She's kind of evolving to know that there are some people that are not worthy of her and not worthy to be our friend. Not because they're not worthy, but because they hurt us with the way that they do. The way that they act, and they're not willing to change their processes, so therefore they have to go. And she just wants to be friends with everybody and overlook everything, and you can't do that as an adult, because some people you're gonna let in your life, and then they're gonna set fires everywhere, just because that's their nature. Like, So we were talking to our younger son about some of the revelations that we've had over the last 5 days, just having this UTI and our brain being on fire. And I was telling him that I thought that parts work would be so valuable for dementia patients. Because for us, at least, we have been able to grow our little that we know about. There might be other littles inside that we need to find and heal. They might still be behind closed doors. But right now, my concern is not with them. My concern is with what I think is maybe a subpart of Jesse. So Jesse is our nurturing love side, and Harper is too, but Harper is more about innocent love. And she does not have hang-ups about sex. Like, I think with Harper, we could have sex with anybody that we see, and Harper's still going to be fine over it. Like, she doesn't inflate sex with value. And I don't ever want her to. I don't want her to ever think that her value is determined by who she gives herself to or not. And even saying it like that gives kind of a value on it. Because if somebody makes a decision to have sex with someone, with a man, you don't see it as them giving themselves to another. But with women, you do. That's just ingrained within us, that if we give ourselves to another, that needs to be a special thing. And you don't give yourself to another without him being your special man that you're going to marry or that you have married. Men, on the other hand, even though they're supposed to be following the same rules, they are not held to the same standards. And we do not see them having sex with someone as them giving themselves to another. So I don't want Harper to ever see it that way. I want her to continue to see it as a beautiful thing that God has put on this earth for us. Does that mean that she needs to have sex with everyone that's running around out there? No, because there's diseases and you need to be careful and you need to make sure that you're not, doing anything that could hurt the parts inside that do still inflate sex as giving a part of yourself to someone. And I have all those parts. The only one that doesn't feel that way is Harper. We all have guilt and shame concerning sex. Actually, I don't think I do. I think I do only because I'm closely related to Jude, and she has all of it because it's a rule. And Jude is bound by the rules, and so am I because I'm connected to her. Jesse, though, is the one that holds all of our sexual hurt. She's the one that holds all of those memories because it was often her decision and her decision alone if we decided to be sexual with someone. And it was also her part of the brain that remembers every sexual wrong that was done to us. And we've been going through pictures this week for a cousin. And one of the pictures was of this 28-year-old man who was my quote-unquote boyfriend when I was 15. So I was in this Upward Bound program where you would go away to a college and live during the summertime when you were in high school. And you'd take classes that would support your next year of high school. This was for first-generation students whose parents had never been to college. Just in case you don't know what a first generation is. And if I'm being insulting, I'm really sorry, because that's a bad thing to do. But some of you may not know. So for those of you who do, I'm not insulting your intelligence because that's one of the rage clouds that we had this week. But back to the love. This man was 28, and he told us that we were his girlfriend. But because he was our tutor counselor at this program, we couldn't be open about it. We needed to keep it silent. And he said, and I'm also going to flirt with the other girls because I don't want them to feel like I'm showing you preference. And I was down because I was attracted to him. Jessie was down because she was attracted to him and she was 15. And Harper was down because she's attracted to everyone. And I was down too because he had a cool car and he took me for rides in the car and I liked it. And Jude thought that he might be our husband. So she was okay with it too. And we weren't very sexual at that point. I mean, we'd done a few little things with people, but not full blown, mainly just petting, and there was some oral sex with one boyfriend at that point, but he had been a serious boyfriend. And our high school sweetheart, the love of our life, we were totally obsessed with him even after we broke up for a long time. Mainly because I think Jude saw that as giving herself to her husband. He had wrapped a present for us. I'm not talking about the 28-year-old anymore. I'm talking about the first serious boyfriend that we had oral sex with at 15. And he was 16, so it was like this innocent love. He didn't pressure us. In fact, we pressured him. And we wanted to go all the way with him because he had wrapped a present. I think it was my birthday present. He had wrapped it in wedding paper. And he had said, this is what I want for us one day. And I was in love with him. Oh, I've switched into Jesse. So I was so in love with him, and Bre was so mean to him. Oh my gosh, she was competitive back then, and she wanted to be the boss. And she didn't understand that it needed to be equal. She wanted us to have the upper hand. And so therefore, I mean, competition, man. Competition is a big problem. Okay, Harper's with me too, because she's the one that says man. So with this guy, we thought that he was our forever, and Jude thought, oh, there's nobody else besides him. And he checked all the boxes. Like, he was tall, he was fit, he was handsome. He did keep his hair in this silly little perm, but it worked for him. Okay, it didn't exactly work for him. And by senior year, the perm was gone. But at that point, he kind of looked like a skater guy, you know, because his hair was about like this, and it was kind of like, it was skater dude. But he was a football player, and he was just perfect. And Bre messed it up because she wanted control, and she wanted him to fall in line with our life, and people like to live their life too. So I learned we learned a very hard lesson from that, because she loved him too. All four of us loved him. He was perfect. And her competitive nature and tactics that mistreated him ruined it. And then he broke up with us, and he could never get over the hurt, and he would retaliate every once in a while by telling my friends that he was going to ask me out, and then he never would. And I also acted very horribly at the end of the relationship when he finally did break it up. And even afterwards, I broke into his car once and stole a hat and wore it at school. He knew that I'd stolen it. He had to have. I stole his Led Zeppelin CD also. I still love Led Zeppelin. Every time that I listen to Led Zeppelin, I think of him. And there's a part of me that still loves him, but Bre was horrible to him. I mean, really horrible. Made him feel horrible about himself in many, many different ways. And he was such a sweet, sweet person. At the time, now, I've found out some things afterwards that makes me think that maybe he was not as sweet, but at the time he was. So then we go to this Upward Bound program, and this 28-year-old tutor counselor tells us that we're his girlfriend, and we do a lot of petting and a lot of kissing secretly. Like, I'll meet him down at the corner and get in his car, and we'll go somewhere private. Because we did have some free time. We were mainly with the friends in the program. And there were some adults in my life that knew that I was dating him, that knew that he was my boyfriend, and that I couldn't let anyone know because he was my tutor counselor, and I needed to be really quiet about it. So there were some adults that dropped the ball on that deal, because after that year was up and he left to take another job, I never heard from him again. And I came to find out from my friends that they were his girlfriends too, and that he'd told us all to keep it quiet and to not tell anyone. And don't even tell blah, 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 which he would know. Like, he told me, make sure that you don't tell this girl. He knew the girls that I talked to. He was very, very observant and manipulative. And he knew the girls that I would have told. And they were the same ones that thought that they were his girlfriend too. And so they didn't tell me, I didn't tell them, because he really stressed to us, you cannot tell anyone. This would destroy my life if it got out. And after this job is over, we can be open about it. And now again with this guy, with this 28-year-old man, we did not do oral sex or full-blown sex, because I had gotten complete teaching, biblical teaching about that you just do not have sex until you marry. So I guess in that aspect, that teaching was good, because I probably would have had sex with him if that wasn't such a strong rule within my mind. But then there were adults who knew that a 28-year-old was my boyfriend, and I was 15, and they did nothing to stop it. So I found a picture, actually 2 pictures, of me and 2 other girls that he was molesting. And we're all hugged up on him, and he is hugged up with us, and it's very sexual. It's a very sexual picture. And it's disturbed me and opened up some things. And then just talking to my cousin, there's an event that I've remembered all of my life a certain way. And I thought that my cousin and my other male cousin were involved. And I found out from him recently that he has no recollection of it. It was our grandmother and grandfather's room. And he does not recall us ever being in there at all. And I recall only this one time, because, you didn't go into Grandma and Grandpa's room. So I've always thought that this bad memory that was a little sexual in nature, I always thought that it was him and another cousin. Because we were all the same age, and we did kind of, I wouldn't say that we played doctor or anything, but I mean, maybe we did, and I don't remember that because it was safe. But this memory, it was not safe, and it's a disturbing memory, and I've tried not to think about it over the course of my life, but with this parts work, it has come up to the surface, and so I asked him about it, and he has no memory ever being in that room with me. And my grandfather is a known pedophile of many, many, many girls. And I did not think that he got me. But now, so is that little girl inside this head screaming out and wants me to pull her up and heal her. She needs healing. And she may have come to the surface with our younger son because we were having a conversation with him about our theory that parts work. And maybe it's already being done. I'm not up on the latest psychological treatments, so maybe parts work is already being done with dementia patients. And I'm not saying anything radical or anything new, but I really feel like that parts work could help people with dementia. I wasn't making a whole lot of sense because of the UTI, but after I got finished talking, I said something like, and I might just be crazy too, because I say that all the time, because, I mean, it is pretty crazy to have 4 consciousnesses that are running the show. I mean, that's pretty crazy. This is horrible lighting. Is that better? I don't think so. Oh, and that's got the picture behind me. Oh, that's horrible. All right, we will have to do this later. We gotta get the armor on. You can't look like a crazy person and spout out theories that are a little crazy also. You have to look like you've got it all together. For the most part, we do. And we can explain these theories in a way that doesn't sound exactly crazy, that fits in with... Okay, that's better. Yeah, I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's bad to have... Oh, it has her name on it. Okay. I need to move it a little bit. All right. Those T, nobody would know. Okay. Yeah, I think this lighting is okay. Okay, so still not the best, and still not. Yeah, we'll need to do this later. Watch this and redo it. All right, so what was I saying? Take a little break. So I've dissociated a bit. Okay, I know what we were talking about. We were talking about the conversation that we had with, slide is horrible. I think I may have switched into, when you look in the camera, you want to see your face. And that's the thing, is that sometimes I look in the camera and it's not my face. And then I'm like, I need to recognize that it's Bre's face. And it's a little bit longer and a little bit more masculine, but it's still an attractive face. Except for these wrinkles. In the waddle. But sometimes when I look in the camera, I'm like, that is not me. And it's upsetting. And it makes me realize how abnormal I am. So that's probably why I'm so concerned by the way that I look. Is because sometimes I look different. Okay, so I was talking to my son about dementia parts treatment that I feel like needs to occur as soon as there are signs of the dementia. You need to get that person on board really, really fast and explain to them that there are different parts of us that control different processes. And in order to keep them from completely reverting back into an infant state, that they're going to need to pull up those parts and start healing. Because with people who have significant trauma, there are lots of parts inside, even if they don't recognize them. And with people who have just the regular amount of trauma, there are still parts of themselves that they've locked away because of a bad memory that they don't want to work through. They just shove it under the rug. And that part is still stuck in that state that they were in whenever the event happened. It is. It's still stuck right there. And you think that you're okay because you've shut the door and you've barricaded it. And you think you're okay, but inside that room, they are still in pain. And they are still affecting things on the outside. When they're awake, they're banging on that door as loud as they can to try to get you to recognize them and heal them. But we don't. We just leave them behind the door. And you do have to be very careful of parts work, because you do not want, you don't want there to be false memories planted. You want to be really careful about that. And that's why I've got to be really careful about this particular incident with my cousin, because it may have happened the way that I remember it, in which case it was just 3 kids playing. But then again, it was a little more traumatic than that for me. So maybe I've fabricated the people who were there, and blocked out the one that was. But I need to make sure. So back to my younger son and the conversation that we had. I was telling him about parts work treatment for dementia patients, that I really feel like that it needs to happen. And also parts work classes for teenagers in schools, that I really feel that that needs to happen. Not that I'm saying that everybody has a dissociative disorder. Absolutely not. But we all have these internal family systems, and some of them act irrationally. And if a teenager is already showing signs of attention-seeking behaviors, when that same teenager has children, it's going to be bad for the child. Or if a teenager is already showing signs of narcissistic behaviors, that's going to be hard for their children. And we need to treat our teenagers, we need to teach our teenagers how to recognize these irrationalities that they do, that all teenagers do. And that's why teenage life is so hard. We need to teach them to recognize these and put in conditions. So if they are an attention seeker and somebody doesn't give them attention, sometimes a person that is insecure will think that person is reacting to them in a negative way, and then they might hate that person and hold a grudge for the rest of their lives. And that is something that needs to be recognized, so that it doesn't drift down to their children. The whole goal here is to make the world a better place, make the world a better place for the next generation of children, and keep making it a better place for them. I think that we're on the right path, and that what's going on in society right now is just death rattles of the old guard. But there's more that needs to be done. So anyway, I was telling my son about all of that, and I said, well, I might just be crazy too. And he kind of looked at me and he said, yeah, maybe so. And then he said, and then I said something to him. And he said, why did you say that? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you just said, you know I'm going to kill myself. And I didn't say that. And we had been in Bre mode. Bre had been in the front, and she got really upset because she knew that she hadn't said it. And after it was all over with, she was screaming at us. Like, there's a video, and I may share part of it with you, but she was screaming at us on the drive to our dad's. Who the fuck said that? And I didn't say it, and Jude didn't say it, and Harper didn't say it. But we had been stirring up possible subparts within me. And perhaps it is one of those parts. Perhaps it is one of the parts that comes up to the surface when I have a lot of regret, and I have the panic attacks from the regret. But it was very distressing because nobody should say that to our child ever. My younger son and I are pretty open about our mental health struggles. And we are pretty open about the liberal way we feel about assisted suicide in situations where people have chronic illnesses and they're never going to get better and they're going to die from those illnesses, or they have a mental illness like dementia, which I'm starting to think that dementia is just a dissociative disorder where the parts are dying. And therefore you need to teach some of the other ones to take over and stop being little kids that are stuck in trauma. I don't know. There's a lot of study that we need to do there. So I don't know who said that. None of us remember saying it. And it should have never been said to our son. But we have been fairly open with him about our struggles with suicidal ideation. And he has been very open with us about his struggles about suicidal ideation. And we have both said in the past that if we ever get dementia, we're just going to take ourselves out. So he thinks that I just didn't add a condition on, that we had been talking about dementia, and he thinks that I just didn't add on, if I ever get dementia, I'm just going to end it. But I know that I wouldn't have said that. I know that I've said it to him in the past, and he's said it to me in the past also, that if we ever get dementia, it's Bre again, by the way, hello. If we ever get dementia, that's just it. But now, because of this theory that I have that parts work can help with it, I would not have said that anyway. I would not have said, if I get dementia, I'm just going to kill myself, because with this new theory that I have, I think that we can cure it. I think parts work could help someone to cure it and have a more childlike part evolve, kind of like our Harper has, and then take over the processes. So I would not have said that to him, and neither would any of the rest of us. And they told me that they didn't. And we don't remember saying it. 100% JJ does not remember saying it. So we don't know who said it. And it's upsetting. It makes us think that there is somebody else in here that's getting ready to come to the surface. And we're not anywhere close to stable, just the four of us. So to add somebody else into the mix, but you know, it is what it is, and they have the right to exist also. So if we do have somebody barricaded behind a door, or Jesse has someone barricaded behind a door, we need to open up the door, because it sounds like she's ready. Maybe to deal with the fact that that guy molested all of us. He needs to be in prison. He needs to be arrested. We all need to get together and have him arrested. Because he might have done that to other girls, and he might still be doing that to girls. My grandfather should have been arrested and imprisoned. Because this was generational abuse. I was his great-granddaughter. So, that's a thing that we're dealing with. And then this UTI has just made everything on fire. And went off on the one guy because we, as a society, have a tendency to offer solutions to people without thinking about what we're saying to them, without thinking about whether or not the solution is so common that it's insulting to ask the person. And we all do it. I do it too. But men especially do it because they think that women are not as smart as them. You know, and the fact that I'm a ditz sometimes also could impact it. All right, so the second blow up. We are in a subservient role with someone, and it's a woman-man role. And it is definitely gender role based. And I do a lot for this person. And I have noticed that he and I both do this particular thing. If he's talking to me about something and I'm trying to work on something that I'm interested in, I will make it obvious that I don't want to hear what he has to say. And that I'm either reading or working on work. Usually it's work. He wants to bother me at work, and I'm working on work. Don't bother me at work. And I work from home, so that makes it kind of easy for people to interrupt, and don't interrupt me when I'm working. But that's stuff that I need to do. My stuff. So I will change the subject because there are things that I'm working on for myself. With him, when I am talking about something that he's lost interest in, maybe because it's too emotional, or maybe because it is just something that he's not interested in. He will detach similarly to what I do, because I will detach from the conversation with him. And I can tell that he's lost interest. So I will usually start making my exit to go back and do the thing that I'm working on or the thing that I'm doing. So it kind of hurts my feelings that he doesn't want to listen to what I have to say anymore. And it's usually Jude. Jude will be telling him something, and she can tell that he is no longer listening to her. And she'll start to make her excuses to go into the other room. And it's usually at that moment that he will point out something that he needs her to do for him in this subservient role. So he's not interested in what she's saying anymore, but he still wants her to do for him. And I do part of that, because there are times when he's talking about something and I could care less what he's talking about at that moment, because I'm busy with my own stuff. I'm busy with my own work. And I will say, I'm working, or I will say, I'm trying to read. It's my stuff. And yeah, that is rude. And I have tried to stop it, but I've also placed boundaries. And he knows not to bother me at work, because he shouldn't be bothering me at work. But I shouldn't be rude to him when he does also. But in these particular incidences are different. It is obvious that he's no longer interested in what is being said. And then, as I'm making my exit, he brings attention to the fact that there's something that he needs me to do for him. It's almost like he gets annoyed that I'm talking to him and not doing the thing that he feels like that I should be doing. So I'm going to suggest to him that he maybe should just tell me the conversation's getting a little too emotional. I need to watch my TV again. And then that way it doesn't throw us into this servant master role by him reminding me that that's who I am. Does that make sense? I don't think I'm explaining it very well. I think I need to write it. But this is a start anyway. All right. Bye.